and he plays TSOL. He's a huge part of TSOL. Like we would be nothing without it. So here we go. The first song I learned how to play was Something Else by Eddie Cochran, made famous by Sid, depending on where you stand. In the beginning, I had only taken one music lesson, so did I, one music lesson at the same place on 11th and Walnut in Huntington Beach, and we're like, fuck this. At the time, that seemed like enough. In some way, it was great being so blind to the normal way things were done. This allowed me to have no walls, no barriers, and no rules. Sometimes it even worked. I didn't know anything about a verse or a chorus, and I didn't care. It was about attitude, anger, and wanting to be heard. It was about being in a band. The truth is that later on, I would want to learn more about the craft I had chosen, and I did take some lessons and try to learn how to read music. That was contrary to what I believed because I didn't want to play anybody else's music. I basically was unschooled and I play by ear. We didn't want anything to do with anyone who had come before us, meaning the rock establishment and the rules that confined them. We didn't have a clue what we were doing, really. But we were doing it like so many others at the time, making music up and down the coast, all over the nation, writing songs in garages, basements, bedrooms, or an attic. Wherever you could find a place to put padding on the walls and get away with playing too loud and poorly, we would play. The name TSOL was a holdover from 14th and Olive, which was an apartment complex that my mother managed. That my brother and Mike had an apartment there, and I lived under the stairway there. Literally, the stairway, there was a closet, and I made my bedroom underneath there. And it was cool because we ended up breaking the drywall out of that closet to go into the middle garage there at 14th and Olive, which was our first practice studio. So we could just go straight from the garage into the house. Let's see, where are we at? The name TSOL was a holdover from 14th and Olive. During late night drinking and drugging sessions, we were watching a religious show. It had a band or a choir called the Sounds of Liberty. Pat, me, or somebody in the room yelled out that we should have a band called the True Sounds of Liberty. Pat was the first one to run out of the apartment yelling, TSOL, TSOL. I had no idea what he was yelling at, and I hadn't put it together yet, but it stuck. While we were all living at Todd's one day in the backyard, Todd was playing Viking while chopping something in half with a sword he had fabricated and creating mayhem. At some point, we noticed two skinny young punks standing at the backyard gate. Pat approached them as we watched from a distance. A quiet conversation took place, and they stood nervously as Pat walked back towards us. When he got close, we asked, "Who is that?" Pat replied, "We stole their drum kit, and they would like it back." I said, "Well," Todd just stood there, shrugged his shoulders, and didn't seem to care. I told Todd, "They have balls for coming here. Give it back to them." Todd said, "Okay." They were Human, the bass player from the Vandals, and Joe Escalante, the drummer of the Vandals. And it's true, you know, Jack will talk about that. We stole their equipment. You know, all of our equipment was stolen. We didn't have any money.